everyone here, I hope that everyone here came with an empty plate, because I'm going to fill it up today. I'm going to go over a lot today, and just so you know, I'm not a person that I don't avoid topics. I'll talk about anything, and I'm very honest and raw. So when I talk about the future, I will be very honest and raw with that as well. I don't believe in sugarcoating, crap and tell you it's chocolate. So I do want to have one little housekeeping thing. If you could please, everyone, put your phone on silent. If you haven't done it already, please put your phone on silent. It's a mistake we all do, and we don't all want to be looking at you like, when it goes off in the middle of something. We will have discussion, and I'll answer questions at the end. I have a lot that I'm covering. I'm not joking. I hope we came with an empty plate. So let's get started. Now, before we go into talking about the future, we need to figure out, okay, where are we? You can't figure out where you're going until you know where you are. It's true in fashion, but it's also true in life. Okay, so one of the places where we are is the fact that fashion recycles. Now, if you look at this picture here, look at this picture from the 60s. These are shift dresses. Does anybody have one on today? I'm surprised no one does. But I'm telling you, like this dress and that dress right there, you could just bought them at Target last week. Because fashion recycles. I'm sure you've all seen it. If you've been around 20, you've seen the fact that fashion recycles. I'm not, because, I'm 20. All right, we're going to watch something a little fun. I want you to, when you watch this video, look at the outfits. Now, see that skirt? No joke. I saw that same skirt in black and white last year. If you look at this outfit, look at her top. The sleeves are similar to mine. J-Lo wore this almost exact outfit in the 90s. And this is from the 70s. And look at that yellow. I love watching Old Soul Train. It cracks me up. Now, these pants, I have a pair. I pretty much have a pair. And those pants, I have a pair in my closet right now. Because, again, fashion recycles. And I apologize ahead of time, but all my videos are from YouTube because it was just the easiest way for me to do it. Now, another place where we are. Who remembers this picture? What is it from? See? Then you just told your age. Now, yeah, I was kind of there too. This is a picture from not the dynasty that came out in like maybe a few years ago, but the original dynasty from the 80s. Look at every single one of these outfits. Every single one of these outfits could be on the red carpet today. Do we not all agree? I mean, look at those sleeves in that black and white. Whoever thought that would come back? Because some things you're like, why did that come back? But it all does. And these are just very small examples of fashion returning. Now, where else are we? Where we are, I'm going to talk about the fashion capitals. The fashion capitals, and they're in numerical order right now, and this is current. New York City, LA, Oakland, California, that surprised me. Boston and Chicago. I did a lot of research during this, so I learned some stuff too. The rest I knew. Oakland, California, I didn't realize because I'm not on the West Coast. Knew about the rest, but that surprised me. Now, again, I'm talking current when you look at these, because some of that's going to change. Now, I want everybody to look down at yourself and to say, self, I love you. No, I'm just kidding. Look down at yourself, look at what you're wearing, look at your neighbor, and look at what they're wearing. Either you or your neighbor have on something stretchy. What are you wearing? The fabrics that we're using today, and again, I'm talking about where we are right now, the main fabrics in society today are stretchy. When I grew up in the 80s, that was definitely not true. Who remembers real denim? Hard as sandpaper. Real denim, they still make them. We call them old man jeans now. Like Levi and Wrangler are two brands that come to mind. They still make actual real denim which is crunchy and hard, but it's durable. And if you all know anything about, any kind of history of fashion, there's a reason they were made that way. But today, our focus and our culture is focused on comfort and convenience. So stretchy works because if I put on 5 pounds, this dress still looks good on me. So we like stretchy because it works. What?
Oh, my downfall, everything's stretchy, so you can just keep eating.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I can't put these pants, now it's like, okay.
It's the manufacturer's fault. Here's another thing that has been trending in the past 5 years mostly, really before then, but more heavily in the past 5 years, is real women are models now. We don't just see these little twigs that look like 10-year-old starving boys, because that's what we saw for decades. Like, most of us grew up in an era where that's what we were shown, and that's what we were, you had to be a little blonde thing, and you had to be about this thin and eat, 2 nuts a week or something. But now, they're showing, look at all these women here. These are just things that I pulled up that are modern right now. They are different shapes, they are different sizes, they are different colors. And that is a beautiful thing. It is a part of the inclusion culture that we have right now, which is spanning across many arenas in both good and bad ways. But this is one of the good ways. Now, here's a fact that you may not realize. Here's a fact that you may not realize in this country, and it's a very sad fact. What do you think that 2% stands for?
Clothes made here?
Yes. Only 2% of the clothes made in America are actually made here. That means the other 98% are made in all these other countries. And I just showed you some tags from some of the countries: Bangladesh, China, India. Those are just some of the countries. They're made in other places, but these are probably the top ones. And that's a problem on many fronts. And that is where we currently are, again, with fashion in America. Another current trend, is this video. I'm going to let it speak for itself. I apologize. I did not realize there would be ads here because this is not my computer.
No one's going to change the world by themselves, but if each person starts to make small changes, it's like a revolution. The situation is bad. Fashion is currently the second biggest polluter of the planet after oil. Obviously, we've all got a part to play. From the manufacturers of fabric to the consumer, there is responsibility. Think about how you buy them, how you dispose them, how you make them, all of that. I think it's time for people to take action in their own lives. If we can all make little changes, no one has to be perfect, it really will make a massive impact on the planet. There's no time like the present to get started, so do I have to start now?
Fast fashion is the production of an unnecessarily large amount of garments. Fast fashion is out. It's about looking after what we have, thinking about what already exists. You don't have to give up your glamour to be sustainable. There are things that have already been made that we can continue to enjoy in a healthy way. Don't buy less necessarily, buy smarter or buy kinder. It literally sometimes is putting money where your mouth is. It's not about being perfect, it's just about being better. Do less harm, do more good.
18% of the carbon footprint of any item in.
Now, there are thousands of videos out there like that, talking about the fashion industry and how it's one of the biggest polluters on the planet right now. And it's an issue. It's an issue. We don't see it here because nothing's made here. It's an issue where it's made. So in all these third world countries, we have a lot of people that are actually getting sick, getting cancer, and dying because of things related to the fashion industry. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, but I will say that there's 2 major things that have to change, or that's not going to change. But more people are becoming conscious. Now, we see fair trade in food, we see it in chocolate, we see it in other industries, and people have begun to wake up and see that we need to be just as aware when it comes to the fashion industry. We're so wasteful. Just think about it. If you're over 40, when you grew up, you didn't just go to Walmart and wear something once and throw it away. You wore that thing for a couple of years probably. Now, currently I do because I'm not buying more. But, and I'm also a seamstress, so I can just rearrange it. But that's become a part of our culture, and I always refer to that mentality, and it's been expressed before as a Walmart mentality. So, buy here, buy quickly, let's just go. But it's a problem in the industry, so what I'm saying is that this is a current trend, that people are recognizing it, and that we need to do something about it. So even right now, you'll find some fair trade items. And this is our next big social cause. All right. Another place where we are is social media. Now, if you're under 30, you grew up with social media. But if you're over 30, you didn't really adapt to it until you got later in life. So we're used to it now, but the younger generation, I think some of us older people don't get, the younger generation is growing up in a completely, totally, utterly different world than we did. Because social media, what it has done, social media hasn't changed human behavior, but it's sped it up. So, if Kiera here falls on the ground and no one's around, it's over. But if I catch it on camera, it might go viral because I'll make a TikTok about it. She fell on her butt, whatever, you know what I mean? And I can say that with Kiera because I know she's not getting upset about me using her. But it's social media has changed all facets of our lives. And I think sometimes for those of us who are 40 and over, we don't always recognize what a big deal this actually is. Because when when we talk about it on TV with bullying, we talk about it with many different subjects, but everything's happening faster now. So because of not just social media, but the internet. When I was younger, if you wanted to figure out what happened in 1962 in China, you had to go get an encyclopedia at the library. We didn't have Google. I could find out what groceries she bought if I want to, because we have the internet. And we didn't have that. So everything is moving along at a much faster pace because of social media. And that is currently affecting fashion trends as well. All right, and for example, an average mom can become the next influencer because of TikTok. I've actually seen that happen. A friend of mine she's a local school counselor, and she makes TikToks making fun of her oldest daughter who's a teenager. They're hilarious. She's got thousands of followers now. And all she did was just sit in her car and make fun of her. But she's kind of goofy, so she is fun to watch. Now, who remembers this woman? Just watch.
Here we go. So, yes! Now watch when my mouth actually moves. That's not me making that noise, it's the mask! Here, listen.
All right, who remembers that?
I do.
She went on for about 3 to 4 minutes, and I'm not even exaggerating, just absolutely falling on herself laughing. But it went viral. You guys remember that? It went absolute viral. And here's the crazy result that came from it. I didn't put this figure in here, but I remember it. She made over 420 grand eventually, between gifts and being guests on shows, just between all the stuff in many different forms. But she made over 420 grand because of the impromptu Facebook Live video. Back then, TikTok wasn't as big, because this was like 5 years ago. It's only increased now. But here's the thing. Sales for Amazon on that mask went up 916,000%. That's insane, right? But this wasn't just an example to show you. This was just an example to show you of the power that social media is having right now. And actually the power that all of you can have right now, if you should choose to do so. You might choose to get on there, and a friend of mine, her daughter, she moved down to Florida for a little while, and she was a nanny. She made TikTok videos showing her daily routine of being a nanny for this little cute, beautiful little girl. And she's just like, oh, this is where we keep the diapers. It was very simple. She got thousands of followers within a week. It was insane. So we can all have our 15 minutes of fame. But because that is true, the next fashion influencer might be you. All right. So now I'm going to make you do some work. So now I want everyone to get up. Yep, get up. Start singing Kumbaya. I'm just kidding. Go sing. Everyone get up. And I want you to walk over to someone you do not know. And here's the conversation I need you, before you do, just listen to what your assignment is. I want you to have a conversation with someone in the room that you don't know. I don't care who it is, male, female, whatever. Just have a conversation with someone. And I want you to discuss the choices on this screen. Oh, it looks different on there than it does on here. It's prettier on my screen. All right. That's actually a fabric background, and I made it really pretty, but it looks different when it's projected. Anyway. I want you to have a discussion with someone about which one of these do you think is true for the future of fashion. More things will be made in the U.S. again. Number 2, there will be more variety in fashion because of inclusion. Number 3, we will all be required to dress the same. Number 4, we will all be wearing mostly recycled clothing. Or number 5, spacesuits, because the aliens will come and take us from the stations after the zombie apocalypse. Okay. So I would like and you have 5 minutes. That's it, just 5 minutes. Find someone and just have a discussion. And I'm not going to say, you're right, you're wrong, get out. Just have an honest discussion.
I'm curious. All right, here it goes. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I did. Thank you so much. Just to give you an sort of how I got the idea for the corporation. My roommates was in the fashion. One of my roommates said that everyone else was in the fashion company. So that's kind of where I got the idea for the arts that I do.
Yeah, I think that one of the things
I hope that's true. I like that idea. Yeah.
it's just like, they'll be like, oh, let's just do the same stuff. No, it's not working.
It was, I thought it was recording, and then it was on.
It was on?
Yeah, I thought I had it recorded.
Where do you see it?
It's like little silver thing. I don't know how to turn it. There we go.
Oh, it's recording now. It's recording now. Okay.
So you're gonna have it.
I like the idea that fashion, you don't have to separate yourself from your personality. I think that I hope you do see some of that in
You guys want to wrap it up and have a seat, please? Okay, guys? I'm a teacher. All right. Now, I'm just going to ask a couple of you so that we can move on. Okay, so we have this. So I'm just going to ask a couple of you after your discussion, what is your opinion in the green shirt right here? What's your name?
Heather,
Heather. Okay. What do you think?
I see, or we saw, most of those things
Okay.
are, the direction we're heading. And either we are already heading there in some ways, or, we will be.
Okay. And tall man in the white shirt.
I'm Alex. Alex, a wonderful friend of that is me. We talked about a couple of things. More things will be made in the USA. I think it's definitely a goal that we all want to, definitely have. And I think with what's going on currently, being, coming out of the end of the pandemic, there's a backlog of stuff just coming to America. And unfortunately, logistics of getting stuff made here is expensive. We need something like the variable to financially make it better for yourselves that we can source for ourselves. And then the other thing was we will all be wearing mostly recycled clothing. I'm a younger gentleman, and she's a little bit more seasoned than I am. She's a little so smooth.
Right?
We talked about it in the way, the older generation bought things, and they took care of it because they worked hard to earn it so that they appreciate it more. And the way I saw it was that the shirt I'm wearing right now is Banana Republic, and it's a reprieve material. And if we can take waste out of the world and more easy to obtain it and create cotton that's a lot less sustainable. So all around, I think it'll work out.
Okay. And, Michelle, what was your opinion?
We decided on number 4, the recycling, to kind of piggyback off what the gentleman just said, and for all of his good reasons.
All right, and, Kiara, what was your thought?
Let's see, number 2, there will be more variety in fashion, but because of number 1 and number 4, and what we meant was, so like we have a designer, Marcus W. Mizell, and Caitlin and I, we were talking about the fact that he makes his clothes and his pieces, right, in his line here, and there's so many designers that do that, so individual brands are making their things here, because it's similar to what he said as well, it's just, it's a better thing to do, and because of that, it's going to give us more variety, because if we're recycling, we all want to wear the thing, like we could all have the same shirt, but we want to wear it different. So the way that we style, it will be different to go to number 2. So we kind of combined 1, 2, and 4.
Okay. And thank you all, that was very good. I want you to have that discussion because I'm about to agree and rebut with some of the things that you said. But that's okay, there's no right or wrong because we're predicting the future. And some of the things that I'm very, like I said, I'm very honest. So not all predictions are good. I'm not going to tell you everything's going to be fine and we're going to float on clouds because that's not true. But if I'm wrong about the bad things, I would absolutely love to be corrected because I want to be wrong about them. But I don't think that I am, unfortunately. All right, so now we're going to talk about the future of fashion, which is what we came here to talk about. But first I'm going to talk about the future of fashion in America in general, as a nation. Then I'm going to talk about local, because those are actually similar but different conversations. All right, so we're going to talk about the future. Gender bending. Now that is a subject that is not comfortable for everybody, but like I said, I'll talk about everything. So if you do not agree with it, I have no problem with you. And if you do agree with it, I have no problem with you. We're not all going to agree on that, and that's okay. So I said that because the air gets thick the second you bring up the subject for a lot of people. But this is where we are. These are all recent pictures. These are all recent pictures, some of the red carpet. That's not going to end. So where we are headed in the future is gender bending, meaning what we have traditionally considered women's clothing or men's clothing, that's going to change. And my prediction is that in the future, there will be less gender identity within the clothing industry. And there'll be less, there's going to be more unisex clothes, I would say. Sweatpants are already unisex, we all love them. But jeans too, but they're made differently. They're made differently. But women and men jeans are actually made differently for a good reason, biologically. Now, I wanted to point this out. When I talk about gender bending, what we don't realize is we are in a time. As Americans, we tend to think that everything was just, everything's always been the way it is, and that's never true. I just mean that, I don't mean everybody in the room, I mean as a culture, generally speaking. Now, if you look at these pictures, here's a picture of a standard Greek man in ancient times and Scottish men today and of yesteryear. They're both wearing, by today's standards, what we consider a skirt. But to them, that was men's clothing. Because my point is, every culture on the planet, since Adam and Eve wore fig leaves, every culture on the planet has told us what men and women's clothes are. That's always been true. And in many Eastern civilizations, that will still remain true. But in Western civilizations, which we are a Western civilization, that is dissipating. So there's less lines. The lines are getting more blurry there. And again, this has already begun, and I don't foresee it stopping anytime soon, and it will increase. And here's another future prediction. What we don't realize is that this is heavily happening already. On the world stage, there's more internationalism, generally speaking. Why do you think that is? Social media and the internet. I could not know anything about Nigerian culture 20 years ago unless I had a Nigerian friend who showed and told me. Or they sent a video overseas or something. 20 years ago, you couldn't do that. Now, we have internet, so we can find out about whatever we want to know. So there's more influence on the international level because we have more information available to us. Now, I'm going to talk about two major world influencers right now, in the fashion industry and in other ways. But particularly in the fashion industry, there's a whole big African influence going on right now in the fashion industry. If you go to the internet, you can find almost as much African clothing, African-inspired clothing, as you can just your regular old average American clothing. Because it's been infused in our culture and it's become a huge big thing. I personally love it, ain't complaining. But when you see African clothing, I want to point out, if you see in the bottom there, it says Nigerian. Because Nigeria is mostly where the African influence comes from. Nigeria is not a country. Africa is not a country. Nigeria is a country, and a whole bunch of people. I say that because as Americans, we've been taught, especially for older, we've been taught that Africa is like one people in one country, which is so silly. Now, here's the thing that you might not realize about Nigeria. Nigeria is actually the most educated country in Africa. They are, here we go, I lost my spot, sorry about that. Nigeria is the New York City and the Hollywood of Africa. I bet you probably didn't know that, but their influence is gigundous. I know that's not a word, but their influence is huge, not just in Africa. There's no other greater, more traveled people on the planet than Nigerians. You probably don't realize that. There's a lot of them in France too, and even in Canada. They travel all over the world, so they bring their influences wherever they go. But here's one of the reasons why African fashion is influencing the world right now. Look at this picture. These are all very famous people who have worn African fashions. They have just been attracted to different African fashions. And again, I want to point out I'm going to keep saying Nigeria because most of the time, not always, not everything, but the major influence coming out of Africa is Nigeria. Just compare it to the US. When we look at Hollywood, when we think about movies, we automatically think about Hollywood. When we think about music industry and so many other things, we think about New York City because that's like a hub of so many things for this country. It's not the only thing in the country. There's other places where movies are made, music's made. But those are, big major things. So that's what Nigeria is for Africa. Now, here's another way that how African is influencing America. Watch this video for just to show you a snippet. This is a song that came out this year. Now that background beat is pretty typical Afrobeat. Afrobeat is huge right now. I mean gigundous. Now if you're not younger, you probably haven't heard it. Your teachers have. And half of them are probably listening to it. This music video is Wizkid and that's enough, you get the point. No, I like Afrobeat music, but that is a correlation between Wizkid, who is like the Justin Bieber of Nigeria. He's huge. He's like huge over Nigeria. Star of Afrobeat music. And then of course we have Justin Bieber, who's the Justin Bieber of America. And you have them in collaboration. Now this is just an example. There are actually, Drake did one. There are several. There are many other collaborations. But my point of saying all of that is that they are an influence. They're influencing our culture. Another way that Nigeria specifically is influencing cultures around the world is Nollywood. Oh my God. Remember how a few years ago Bollywood exploded? Well, that's Nollywood now. Nollywood is just Nigerian Hollywood. It's Nigerian Hollywood. And let me tell you, their movies are so melodramatic. But people love them. They really are. They're just so melodramatic. But they're huge and people love them. Another way that, fashion has become big in Nigeria in particular, is that a lot of expats are going back home and starting fashion businesses. So they might go out to London or England or come over here, but then they go back and start a business because it's one of the easiest businesses to start. It's one of the best ways to be successful in your own business. Over there, it's different than here. So, I mean, the type of seamstress I am is rare here. It is not rare there at all. I would just be, milled in with the rest of them because there's some amazing sewers over there who make their own stuff. Now, we're going to talk about another big influencer on the main stage. I know you're wondering, well, why are we talking about all these other countries? Usually you're going to talk about America. I am. We are another country that is huge right now, making an influence on the world stage. Okay? So Nigeria and South Korea are the biggest influence on the planet right now when it comes to entertainment and soon-to-be fashion. I'm going to show you a little clip of this group. What is their name? Espa. There's so many of them now.
We are for those who love to discover.
All right.
Who know it.
I apologize because I couldn't use my computer here, which has all this advertising crap off of it. I didn't think about that till now. Like
TJ Maxx.
All right. This is on Kelly's show.
Off that album. Give it up for Espa! Oh my gosh.
This is K-pop.
Don't you know I'm a
It's considered K-pop.
savage? I'm a killer. Not a killer. Don't gotta go have a good watch. No fella. We holla. DOT and no, you do holla. Me the naughty fake on me. You be the island with it. More than a fake on me. Got everybody want to me. So you can make it better.
Okay, you get the point. Now, with that, I wanted to point out, the reason I stopped it there is, if you notice, they started off in English, because they had to appeal to us, because I don't speak Korean. We don't speak Korean. But then they go into Korean, and we still watch it. That's where we are. And I know, if you know any teenagers, all of them know about K-pop, and some of them are probably big fans of K-pop. K-pop stands for Korean pop. It's huge. Not gonna lie, some of it's kind of catchy, even though I don't like pop. But it's huge right now. They are having an influence in music right now on the world stage, like a major influence. And here's the thing about Korea that most people don't know. Korea is the most educated country on the planet. Literally, they are number one in education on the planet. The Korean economy has been growing and exploding for a little while now. And whenever that happens to a culture, they always have influence. So, if they are growing in entertainment, in all kinds of music, TV shows, like this one. Not a fan, don't plan on watching it, but it's huge right now. Squid Game. We've been hearing about it on the news. Another Korean sensation. They have been, I don't think that's going to end. If they're influencing entertainment, if they're of all kinds, and they're growing as an economy, they have a textiles industry. Don't you think a fashion influence is coming next? It's not here yet, but it's on its way. And again, another prediction is social media. It will continue to be a major part of our lives. Social media is here to stay. It's not going anywhere unless there's like all the electricity goes out in the world or something. And social media is here to stay. So my guess is that instead of all right. It used to be in the fashion world that we wore what we were told to wear. We still do to a degree. We wore what we were told was in. We'd watch Good Morning America, and they'll tell you what the spring line is. And then you're like, oh, well, yellow's in, I have to go get yellow. Pink is in, I have to go get pink. And, if you're like me, pink is in, okay, so I'm not wearing it. So, I'm wearing red. So, if you're like me. But this demonstration shows you the attitude of fashion elitists that used to have this power. Oh, it's so hot. And this is what you're wearing. Oh. You know, and it's not like that anymore. Because of social media, we're not really paying attention to them anymore. Now, it will never be out of the hands of designers and major famous people. They will never stop being influencers, but their power has diminished because some of that power has been put in your hands because of social media. I keep bringing that up because it's not a minor detail, it's everything, really. So if you look at this, again, they could be looking at someone who made a pair of boots famous because she wore them in a TikTok video and did something crazy. You know, I'm sure you could all think of things right now within the past year that have gone viral because someone made a video. That too happens with fashion. YouTube is absolutely full of videos of people giving fashion advice. And some of them are really great, and I think they're great. Another wave of the future is, now I'll hit on this because some of you guys agree, sustainable fashion. I do think that there will be an increase in sustainable fashion, okay? And what sustainable fashion means is eco-friendly fashion. Whether that is, you know, recycling things and wearing them again, or not, you know, just not buying so much brand new stuff, wearing it once or twice and going away. That mentality is going to go away, and here's why it's going to go away. Because people are going to use social media. It's already starting to happen now, but we haven't really seen it happen like it's going to happen. People are using social media to influence you so that you feel uncool wasting. They're making recycling cool. Because all you have to do is tell people, well, you don't fit in because you're not recycling, and we'll believe it. And then we'll embarrass you on social media if you don't. That's where we're headed. I mean, that's really kind of where we are. But we're going to head there in a much bigger way. Now, the other thing I'm going to talk about very briefly are some of the specific fabrics that are around right now that are part of that wave of the future. And believe it or not, organic cotton. They have found ways to modify cotton and grow it a lot faster and easier without using so much water. Because cotton is one of the biggest water wasters. I mean, it takes a lot of water. I'm not a farmer, I just know that much. But organic cotton and how they make it, they have actually made some strides in that. And cotton is a fiber that's been used since right after fig leaves. You know, we've been using it since over the beginning of time, and it'll continue to be used, which is good because natural fibers are, you know, a lot of them have kind of gone away. Not gone away completely, but they've gone down in usage, and sometimes for good reason because they're more expensive to maintain. So we are finding other ways of doing it. And so this is Econo. So what Econo is, generally speaking, it says it right there. Recycled stuff, they make into threads and then make it into fabric. Now, I say stuff because it's not always plastic. It's many different things. It's usually different because plastic doesn't just come in one form, so it's just kind of very generalized when they say plastic. But they're finding ways to take our waste, you know, and make it into treasure, which is good. Is it affordable? Is it economically sustainable for everybody? Not yet, but they're working on it. But they said the same thing about solar years ago. Remember that? Years ago, they're like, you can't sustain solar. Now we see solars on half the houses around here. Maybe not half, but enough. And it's become a much bigger thing. So it is sustainable if you keep at it. And the other fabric here is, this is tencel. Tencel is actually made of wood. They found a way to, you know, just turn wood into threads and then turn it into fabric. If you didn't already know that. And spider silk. All right. Here's the other wave of the future. Here's my favorite part. Revise our video in a second. Now, what happened to my picture? Y'all saw it. Schenectady, it was right down the street. Okay. Here's my other part of the presentation I want to get into. I just talked about the national trends that I foresee coming. And now, the title of this, the whole thing today, is the capital region. So now I want to talk about, I talked about the national trends, but now I'm going to show you some of those things that are actually happening right here, right now. Not all of them are happening right now in the capital region, but many of them. And we're gonna start off with Jody Kenny. Now, Jody Kenny, what she does is she's a local news anchor, but she has her own YouTube channel. And I told her I was gonna snatch something from her YouTube channel to show today. But what she does is she goes thrifting. She's part of that social media making recycling cool. So I'm just gonna show you a little snippet.
And I got this big old bag right here. I know, right? I'm crazy. Oh my goodness! Look how fun this top is.
Look at her outfit.
Beautiful. Welcome to my channel. I'm Jody, and I'm excited that you're here today.
All right. So what I like though, if you take a look at this picture here, she's a local news anchor. Look at her top, her dress. That's something that she got at a thrift shop. So she doesn't just go on the channel so she can get some likes. She actually wears them. I'm a firm believer that if you are going to want some change, you're going to talk about it, you need to be about it and not just having words come out of your mouth. And so I love the fact that she is on, local television and she's on Spectrum News. Spectrum News is on every steward's shop, in so many businesses, they have Spectrum News on all day. So probably more people see her than they see other television. And she's there wearing all this vintage stuff and making it cool and making it look good. And that's a part of helping to change our culture. Now, I wanted to point this out. Why do I have a picture of myself here? I know, because I'm pretty, right? No, that's not. I wanted to point out that I'm doing this too. Now, I wore this dress for that picture. I wore this dress for 2 other videos. And guess what? I'm wearing it again, and I'm recording right now. Now, most people would everybody's going to see me in that dress. I can't wear it again. Now, I worked in the bridal industry for over 20 years, so I've heard that a lot. Oh, we can't wear that again. But that's part of our culture. Our culture tells us, I was a millionaire when I got $3 in the bank. And, and so we just can't be seen wearing that dress again. But you know what? You saw me wear it here, you saw me wear it in 2 other videos, and now you get to see me look good in it again. And that's my attitude. And if you don't like it, don't buy. So, but that we all have to be a part of the change we want to see. I'm a firm believer in that. And so if you want to change, I might not be able to go out and change the whole fashion industry tomorrow, but I can do something from where I am. So I personally I really do a lot of recycling clothing. I go to thrift shops, I buy stuff. Now I'm a seamstress, so I'll take the sleeves off and remake them. I do that sort of thing all the time. But some of you can find ways of doing it too if you want to. Now, here's another thing. This is actually, I thought I'd put this in there, this is actually a virtual workshop that's happening tonight at 6 o'clock. And Jacinia is a wardrobe specialist and a stylist, rather, sorry. It's called wardrobe maintenance. I'm mixing up my words. But she's a stylist, and she's actually really just bubbling over with information on how you can personally make your closet better and work for you and be realistic for you. Not just for your fashion, but also for your own local, ecology. And it's great. So if you are interested you can see me or Carmen right there. I'm going to point her out right there. Talk to her. Everybody talk to her. You can see us afterwards if you want information on how to get in on that tonight. And I've actually seen the presentation. I can honestly say it's very thorough and very good. Some of the stuff she said, I was like, oh, I wanted to cover that in mine, but I can't. Now, I wanted to show you again. Jacinia is local. This is all local people right now. This is Marcus. Say hi, Marcus. Stand up and wave. Marcus, actually come up front because you're wearing it. Just for a second. Now, Marcus he's one example. He's a local designer. There are so many local designers I could have put into this, but we don't have enough time. So I chose him because I actually like his idea. Now, I'll show you what his idea is. And he's just an example because he's not the only designer around here with innovation in his mind and is actually doing something with it. So if you look right here, he's got these, what are they called again?
Which ones? Pumpkins.
No, this whole thing. A harness, okay, that means I need some more caffeine. I'm forgetting words I know. Alright, but he has this idea that I think is also a wave of the future. That's also why I chose to have him here today and to show you. If you see this girl in the picture, that's one of his models. And his idea is to make fashion usable. It's one way. He has other ideas, but it's one way of making fashion usable and making it cool. He has friends that are wearing this now. They're wearing different versions of that, and that's cute on her. Instead of having a purse, it's easier. Just walk around free. I mean, some of us are girly and we love stuff, but sometimes I do, wish I had that. And I will tell you, I can see seamstresses in the future using something like that idea. But it's an innovative idea, and it's another way of being creative with fashion and not just wearing it to look cool for 10 minutes and impress people who don't matter. Thank you. All right, and here's the other thing that we've been having in the Capital Region, and I love this, okay? So, this is a fashion show. It's called Stitch. It happened just before the pandemic, and it was the biggest fashion show of its type in the Capital Region. Like, this was New York City level fashion show, which we haven't really had here before like this, and I'm just going to show you a little snippet. By the way, these are all made by locals. This is not imports from New York City. There are a lot of designs there, actually. It's so fun. Plus size, men and women. Yeah, that is the type of stuff we see in New York City, right? That happened here. My point in showing you that is that that's going to increase because we are becoming a fashion capital. Now, here's another, I'm going to go into the education piece. So there are actually, we have organizations and schools around here that have begun to really implement fashion-focused programs or classes. And this is the Capital Region BOCES. They actually have a fashion program. I don't know if all of you know that. But years ago they didn't. They do now. I don't remember when they started it. But
we cover a lot of stuff in the fashion industry in this class, things like textiles, seam construction, illustrations, proportions, pattern making, zippers, dyeing, visual merchandising, all of that, anything, pretty much everything in the fashion industry, little bits and pieces. I took the class because I want to go into the fashion industry. Not 100% sure exactly what I'm going to do, but I definitely know that this is what I want to do, and this class will help me figure that out.
something else we have around here, and right here in the city of Schenectady, is the Electric City Barn. And this is a newer concept, kind of in America, because places like this have been popping up. We have the Electric City Barn I'm focusing on because they actually have a place for artists of different kinds to go, and they can use their sewing machine, they can get classes, they can get help with design. They have so many little different things that they help people with who are in the fashion industry. What I'm doing right now is I'm trying to show you, build you a picture of what we have going on in the Capital Region, because the fashion industry can't happen here unless many different players help. And so I'm showing you some of the players. Another big, huge player, and hopefully most of you have heard of them, is Ace. Stands for the upstate line. help people of different kinds of arts in the entire capital region. I specifically remember years ago when
To the ACE event today. I love the exchanging of ideas, and that's what we did a lot today. How to improve the region, how to do our work, and what we do as creatives. As you start to explore those ideas, you can identify the kernels that are the same, and those are the threads that are going to help us solve some of these conundrums that we have, and to create a better community.
Now, I'm not going to show you, but my point is that they came, the reason ACE came together is they saw a need to collaborate amongst artists of different kinds in the area. Now, fashion is just one of those. And they have been the backbone of a lot of different programs and a lot of different people in helping them, bring some of their dreams to realization. And they are just one organization. And my God, they have grown so much in the past few years. All right. And here's one that I'm personally involved with.
6 fashion entrepreneurs took the lead. They enrolled in the Fashion Edition Institute, a career and business development program produced by Mission Accomplished Transition Services. These students came in with years of experience, but now, after 6 months in this program, they leave with hundreds of hours of valuable coaching, world-class mentoring, industry knowledge, and an in-here skill set for the next big opportunity. The entrepreneurs, Terrell, Kat, Raffia, Marcus, Lista, and Tyler. Remember their names. They will be the next to complete the Fashion Edition Institute and showcase just how talented, skilled, and influential they are in the.
So what Mission Accomplished does is it's transition services. And I've been working with them for the past 5 years. We think it's 5 years. With their Fashion Edition Institute program. So we actually have a Fashion Edition Institute program here in the capital region, if you didn't already know. I personally have seen, and one of the reasons I've stayed on, I've personally seen many different students come out of their program and successfully move on to their own businesses or their next level of whatever it is they're trying to do within the fashion industry. And it's not just designers. There's event planners, there's people that do hair, there's models. There's many, many, many different facets to the fashion industry. And they genuinely help people to move on to the next level. It's transitional services, so they genuinely do that. Now, I'm a little biased because I now actually work for them. I now actually work for Mission Accomplished, but I don't mind doing so because I've watched the success over the years. Now, I'm going to back up and say, we all have seen people talk about what they're going to do, but then it doesn't manifest. I'm going to help these people do blah, 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 but that doesn't really happen. We see that with all kinds of programs. All of us have seen it with programs, we've seen it with people. I don't see that with Mission Accomplished because it actually happens. It's one of the reasons I joined. And I love the students, and I love the, I just love what the program does. They really genuinely help students move on to the next level. Marcus was one this year, and he has been able to successfully move on, and he's doing a lot more than he ever would have done before the program. And he'll tell you that, and all of them have said that. Here's the thing. My prediction for the future is the capital region was going to be the next fashion capital. You see, we always think we have to go to New York City for fashion. And that has been true for a long time. But it doesn't have to remain true. And in fact, it won't. And as you can see by all these different, and I didn't even show you everything because we have limited time. I showed you what I could pick and choose from that I think are the strongest players in the area. And as you can see, with all of these different entities working together, fashion is actually happening here. And we're building a community that's going to foster more of that in. Now, I'll show you my thoughts. This was an interview that I did for Mission Accomplished for the upcoming Fashion Institute. It was done like a year ago. But instead of saying it now, I just haven't watched the video because it's a mouthful.
Questions that kind of talk about the fashion industry. So, what's the culture of the
program started a few years ago, but it has branched off many other facets of the local fashion community, or has touched many of the local fashion community. It's amazing. If I have to give the local fashion culture one word, it would be growth. I would say growing. Let me correct myself. Growing. It's growing tremendously. People are now actually realizing, oh wait a minute, fashion can happen here in Capital Region. We don't have to go to New York City for it. And years ago, I remember Carmen saying that, and that was part of the vision, and that's part of what kept me on. But now we're actually seeing people say it.
Yeah.
And it's a
beautiful thing. That's what I said. Now, here's my favorite part. Everybody listening? So, here's my favorite part that's very personal to me. The other vision that I have for the future of fashion in the Capital Region is having our own sewing school here. Now, I've said that on television before, and I've said it in a few public places, but this is an opportunity to really kind of dive into what I mean. I want to back up a little bit, and I'm showing you this picture because it's from olden times, all right? It's from olden times. It's a mother there showing her daughter how to, sew. In I would say most of our grandparents' generation, sewing was a normal household thing. My mother used to make my clothes, and I'm sure your mothers or grandmothers probably could sew too, and it was a normal household thing. But ever since manufacturing moved overseas, sewing stopped being a real career here, and therefore the art and the craft itself has diminished. And now people think of sewing as a fun pastime instead of a serious career. Fatima Bey, my goal is to change that. I want to create the next generation of sewers. I want to point this out to you. How many people have been to a dry cleaner recently? Over the past couple of years, maybe. Have you ever noticed when you go into a dry cleaner, or any seamstresses, 90% or tailors, 90% of the time they're not American, they have an accent. There's a reason for that. Because sewing is still a big part of their economy in other places. It's not here. And I want to change that, especially in the bridal industry, my industry. Because I make and design wedding gowns, and I've been doing it for a long time. And I want to see the next generation of sewers. So my interest is to get young Americans into sewing and make it a serious career again. There are many different ways that has to happen. Many different things that happen. But more specifically, I want to do that here in the Capital Region and in Schenectady, actually. The next generation of sewers. See a young girl there sewing, and that's what I want. I want to have a sewing school, like I said, right here in Schenectady. So if you look, this is a beautiful picture of Schenectady. My goal is to make Schenectady a sewing destination. And I'm already a part of making this Capital Region a fashion destination. I'm not doing it by myself, there's a whole bunch of us. But what I'm saying is that I'm a part of it already, and I love that. But sewing is a part of it, because I don't care how much you design, somebody got to sew it. You can't give it to your cat and say, there you go. Sewing needs to happen, and it needs to be a serious, taken seriously again. Now, what I also want to point out is that, okay, do you guys recognize this? Yeah. I think it's where we are. I want you to follow me for a moment with vision. I want you to catch my vision. We are right now, we're in a historical building that's all about the history of Schenectady. You are watching right now the history of Schenectady being made. Could you imagine being there when they first landed on the moon? It's history in the making. You are here right now while fashion is happening in the capital, but you're also watching me, history in the making. You are in a historical place, history in the making. My goal and my hope is that one day they will have a picture up on these walls of our generation, how we turned this place out. We turned Schenectady into a new place of sewing. Hey, that's it. Well, almost. The other thing that has nothing to do with sewing, but I'm going to put all my information out there anyway because I have your eyes. Now, the other thing that I do is I am a mind shift coach. Aside from being a seamstress. That's something I started doing officially this year. I'm a mind shift coach, and so I help people to shift their thinking, and hopefully I do that today with you. And my information is right there if you're at all interested. Thank you. Now, one more thing. I did say that if you had any questions, questions or comments, that I would open it up at the end. And I do have a question for all of you, but I'll allow you to ask first. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
My name is Minnie Blaisdell. You did a very good presentation.
Thank you.
The history and what's going to be history. I enjoyed the show.
Thank you. Now, did anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay. Something I want to go back to, I forgot your name in the white shirt. Alex? Okay. What Alex had mentioned earlier, and I think a couple of you touched on it too, but actually kind of spoke for a lot of people when he said it. When you talk about bringing manufacturing back to America, I did want to comment on that, but I wanted to wait till the end. I don't think that that's going to happen in the way we want it to happen. I think that it will happen to a degree. It'll happen to a degree for a certain couple reasons, because we don't do anything unless we're forced to. So I think that some of the issues of all the imports that we have that are happening right now, that'll continue to really kind of, some of it'll clean up, but some of it'll continue on. Eventually there'll be a clash, and we're going to have to wake up and go, okay, we got to do something different. But reality is, we make it really hard for companies to do things. We regulations, absolutely, but we overregulate everything. So why in the world would I come here and pay $300 for something when I could pay $5 over there? Until we financially motivate companies, they're not going to come back here and do what they need to do. But also, at the same time, and to the countries that are allowing the people to be exploited, decide to value their own people and stop allowing us to exploit, we're going to keep doing it. We shouldn't. It's bad. It's evil. But it will continue unless those two things change. Just wanted to point that out. It's not a hopeless statement, but it's a real one. But what we can do, we can't change everything, but we can change something. We can all do something to try to help our local economy by buying local as much as we can, because it is not cheap to make things here. It just isn't, because, again, generally speaking, because we overregulate. It's that overregulation mind. We have to have 75 rules for you to breathe next to the wall. That's just where we are in America. So until that changes, we're demotivating people. We're not giving them a reason to work here, and to be here, because here you got to pay people benefits. You got to, we require all of that. And I'm not saying that shouldn't be required, but we just need to have some balance. And we overtax everything. We just need to have some balance if we want to bring it back. Anybody have any comments on that?
I think that it's important for us to sometimes not always put the reliance on the companies. We have to take personal ownership as consumers, because if I know that this harness is going to cost me maybe 3 times what I could pay from a store who makes them, in bulk, I need to understand, well, yeah, I'm paying more, but I need to remember who it's going to, and that it's supporting, maybe he has a team of 3 versus this team of 1,000, and, it's in a different country. So I think we have to take ownership as consumers, and it's not just government regulations and things. We got to be willing to say, I'm going to spend more on quality and local and, all the things. So I think sometimes we're looking for them to do stuff, but it's like, they would come if I know I'm going to go to Target and work here, but I'd rather go to Target than Walmart because I like the quality of this thing. I know I'm paying 2 to 3 times more, but I'm choosing that for a reason. And so I think as consumers, we got to take some responsibility too.
Completely agree.
Towards that, so I'm just going to share a little personal story. In 2019, I made a New Year's resolution to not purchase any new clothing from the store, and I have so far held to that resolution. So I shop exclusively at either local boutiques or that hand make their goods, or mostly thrift stores and stuff like that. So I think that's a good way just to, hopefully I would like to spread that out to all my life, because I really do have an issue with sort of the way we just continually purchase. Consumerism is a really big like as a part of our society. So eventually I would like to spread that out into more areas of my life, but it's a good way for us to just really start thinking about how we purchase things, why we purchase them, you know, all the things we see. Like I wear this dress at least twice a month. Like, you know, you can rewear your clothing, you can add different things to it to change it up, to make it different. You don't have to constantly just be wearing brand new stuff all the time. So it's just one way you can like make a difference.
Amen to both of those.
Yeah.
I would say something else here, but.
I was gonna say, so literally, so my action, I legit just text Marcus, because I've done a session with him, he's also a personal stylist. So I literally text him like, don't let me forget I need to book a session with you, because it's like, maybe your skill set is not shopping your closet, and like, you can wear this dress, but maybe you wear different, five different ways, so maybe it's hiring a stylist too.
Yes.
When you talk about recycling, I have clothes that I wear that were my mother-in-law's.
Oh, wow.
Some were my mother's. And people look at me like, where'd you get that out of my closet? I'm great for recycling.
You know what I remember, now that you said that, I remember when I was in, my little sister in high school, her friend, everybody was like, oh my God, this was the 90s. Oh my God, that is so cute, where'd you get that? It was her mom's stuff in the 70s. And that's the thing, if you keep it in your closet long enough, it'll come back around. So like bell bottoms are back in again, you know, and leggings are in again. So yeah, you can recycle if you are smart enough about it. Any other questions or comments? Marcus?
So, kind of like to piggyback off of that, and these two back here that are with me as well, that's my grandmother and my brother here.
Yes,
a lot of the photo shoots that I've been putting on with Tyler, Kyrie as well, they're going to be featured very soon in a few exhibitions, but all of the clothes mostly come from her. Like they come out of her closet.
Oh wow! I'm gonna see it now.
I try to get
So we got a sexy mama here. Is that what it is?
Sometimes.
A lot of the shoots, I just try to reuse clothes and refurbish things, like you said. And just turn things around.
She's worn my mom's skirt. We shortened it a little bit.
Oh really?
But my mom probably had it in the 60s. You
Oh,
know, it was
that.
a little wool skirt, it's turquoise and whatever, and I think I wore it in high school and now she's worn it, so.
Yeah, they come back
just
around.
tweak it, so.
But I will say, honestly, for myself, I really have gone thrifting a lot. When Jody Kenny, when I showed her on the screen, and she goes, she's not kidding, she thrifts and she wears it on TV, where everybody's staring at her. I do the same thing, but because I'm also a designer and a seamstress, I will buy a plain dress, and I'll cut the sleeves off, and I'll put sleeves on like this. Or I'll cut it at an angle, or I'll add beadwork, or I'll add a panel to the side, or gussets to the side, or something. I do that sort of stuff all the time because I can show you. I don't know if you guys remember the video I showed when I was showing the video on Mission Accomplished. It was a brief video of me with a mic in my hand, and I was wearing that top, and it had pink, froofy sleeves. I put those sleeves on like a couple days before then. That top has been restyled at least 4 times. I probably have had it for 10 years. And it's a basic, it's just cut nice, it fits great. If I'm full, you can't tell, it's wonderful. So, has a bunch of stuff. But I took the sleeves off and redid it, and I've done stuff to the front of it. You can be creative, and you can find people around here that can actually help you do that. And like Kiara was saying, you can find a local stylist that you don't have to know how to sew to do that. They can help you to just accessorize, fold this here, just little things that you can style a little bit differently so you can keep it a little longer instead of going out and buying the next new thing that's cute for the next 10 minutes. Because remember, fashion is moving very fast. So what's cute today is out tomorrow. Next week is something else in. That's where we are. And that's not going to change because of the internet and social media.